some folks in. Go
Where's the
ahead and
saw
19.
tell.
Where's the saw? We want a saw. Where's the saw? The saw's supposed to get on
Uh,
it.
so
Hold
okay,
on.
Tom, hop on.
Can
Go
I
ahead, go ahead, go, Doc.
can I go? Okay. 1952. Sound clash culture begins in Jamaica. Sound clash culture is, again, sound system against sound system. They're pulling up in different neighborhoods. The 60s, it goes to the UK. Hurt comes from Kingston, Jamaica. He comes from Trenchtown. It was heavy in Trenchtown. Okay. His father would have known about this. The sound system culture, the sound clash culture in Jamaica was naming their sound systems, and the competitions were whose sound system was louder. We get to New York, we get to the Bronx. The first battles that happen in hip hop's culture, the first battles are among DJs. They're not cutting and scratching. Those are not the battles. It is which sound system is louder than which sound system. You have one person on this side of the gym, another person. Bambaataa did these battles. Mario did these battles. Jazzy J did these battles. And Herc names, he's the first one to name his sound system the Herculoid sound system. Okay, that comes direct, not toasting. The sound clash culture comes directly from Jamaica. Cool DJ D, who is a predecessor to, he's a contemporary of Disco King Mario in Bronxdale, did an interview with Troy L. Smith. And they asked him about the Jamaican sound systems. And Cool D said, those big sound systems that you saw in Brooklyn were created, I'm paraphrasing, were created by Jamaicans, and they brought this from Jamaica. So there is most definitely a connection with the sound clash culture and what Herc does. Then you got Breakout, who names his sound system the Mighty Sasquatch. That's Jamaican. That's what they were doing in Jamaica. They weren't doing that here. Those are facts. So it is what it is.
I'm listening to
Sound
Cool
clash
Herc.
culture.
I don't know. It's Cool Herc
Yeah,
say you're
I'm
wrong.
listening to Cool Herc. I'm
I'm
listening to
gonna go
Cool
with Cool
Herc.
Herc on this one, Doc. I'm with you, but I
Yeah,
gotta go.
yeah.
I gotta go with Cool Herc. You beat up
uh,
Cool.
I feel you. I feel you.
yeah, I
I
see
feel you.
this did so.
I
You
said the
have the
hell
floor,
with Cool
brother.
Herc.
You have the floor. We're gonna
Thank
open it
you.
up.
Thank you for having me. Ewa Pura
Yes,
Vida,
man.
calling from Central America, Costa Rica. I want to just say the following.
Okay.
First, the conversation in regards of the origins of hip hop sang in African vernacular English. We recognize it in Latin America as originated in New York, Bronx. That's all I'm not going to say in regards of that, because that is not my area of culture.
Say it again. You was kind of incoherent. You
Hold
said
on.
what
Could you
about the
please not
vernacular?
interrupt me for a moment?
No,
I
I'm saying
really.
say it. No. Hold on, brother. You come on my show talking crazy.
Sorry,
I
sorry,
said
sorry.
say
Go
it
ahead.
again. I said
Mhm.
say it at the
Okay.
beginning. Was
Sorry, I
you
misunderstood
said
you.
African American vernacular? Then you went off that I don't understand it. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead.
Okay. So, again, the origin of hip hop sang in African vernacular English, huh, was and is recognized as originated in the United States by African U.S. residents or African descendants of slavery who are United States citizens. That's
Mm,
that's undisputable. Now,
thank
the contributions of other Afro, be it Latin Americans or Caribbeans, is also part of that history. But those contributions start happening either somewhat simultaneously or somewhat afterwards. That is easy to recognize. My
you. Mm,
look, I'm gonna be very simple, and I wish we could have another conversation in regards of the subject, but I'm just gonna put it on the words because I do have a little bit of a criticism, constructive criticisms. When we're speaking about the African descendants of slavery in the Western Hemisphere, aka North, Central, South, and Caribbean, yes, we can make distinctions by nationality. But those distinctions by nationality or regionality in the Western Hemisphere do not eliminate the fact that the majority of slaves were deposited between Latin America and the Caribbean. And eventually, when the British arrived to the United States, then we saw the mobilization of slaves towards what is modern day United States.
You messing it up. You messing it up.
Why you say that,
And
man?
because they had breeding. They already knew slavery was going to be, I got to work. They already knew slavery was going to be illegal. So they started breeding slaves early on before the laws was passed. So the majority of African American slaves come from the breeding farms, brother.
First.
No. First what?
I would love that this.
No.
I was
Did you know
bringing that
that?
up. No,
Did you know
because that is false. That is utterly, your claim is utterly and completely false. If we see the beginnings of the Atlantic slave trade, particularly,
Did you hear what I said?
particularly, hold
Did
on.
you
You said, let me rephrase.
Yeah, rephrase that.
You said that they knew that slavery was going to become illegal. What that date are you referring to? What particular date are you referring to in regards of that?
They already
of that
knew.
knowledge.
I got the sources. I didn't think I was going to have to get into this right now, right? But you know, I'll bust your
Are
head
you
because
talking
I do.
anything?
You made me dig down and get the book. It is called, it's the American Slave Coast Slave Breeding Industry, a history of the slave breeding industry. I'm letting you know nothing just pops up out of nowhere. These colonial powers don't just pop up and say, here's the law, slavery is illegal. They already know it's bubbling. They already know what's going on. They already having debate on whether they should do it. And so the Americans started breeding slaves ready for the illegal thing. They was already ready for it. They already started breeding slaves. So I'm saying they bred slaves in America, bro. So you say false, now that's crazy.
The Atlantic slave trade started early 1500s.
Right. They wasn't breeding them then. I'm telling you when they started breeding.
No, they were breeding them then.
No,
the breeding began right away on the 1500s.
No, we said
I'm talking about America.
Whole thing. Man, they
I'm
was
talking
always
about
having sex and make them have sex, but I'm saying specifically now. Now I got to be specific with you.
Yeah,
I'm saying breeding farms. They actually constructed breeding farms.
Do you think that when Brazil received the slaves, they did not have breeding farms?
What's your point? Go ahead, man. I don't want to bog the show down because we got a lot of people.
No, okay.
Get back to hip hop.
Another day we can have that in-depth conversation because there's many points where the North Americans forget the history.
I ain't North American to forget it because I ain't trying to remember it. I got it documented. I'm not running around with it in my head. I'm reading the sources on it. But go ahead.
I'm also reading the sources, and it's also part of my expertise as somebody who's worked on this for the past 25 years, improving the community.
It's hip hop.
But again, going back on this question of hip hop, the only thing I'm gonna say, because and I'm gonna step off on that, because my interest in the conversation is more broader than just the issue of hip hop. But yes, we can recognize that the origin of hip hop sang in vernacular English happened in modern day United States, New York, Bronx. The hip hop sang in Spanish, Portuguese, and French happened almost simultaneously as those records started hitting Latin America. And I can give you one source. In Venezuela, 1980, Rapper's Delight was number one for several weeks in Venezuela, and it was utilized then by the Conde or the Count Perucho Conde, who was a comedian back then, was utilized to do the first aspect of hip hop music in Latin America, using Rapper's Delight as one of the main tracks in that sense. But the matter of the fact, and this goes to the criticism in regards with this, and this I finish.
Hey, Doc, check
the matter of fact of the influence that has been happening, well, you got to blame your music industry. They started selling their discs almost right away down here. And not only that, but the migrants that were coming back and some visiting family back brought that music with them too. But it's not like Latin America was not creating music at that time. We were doing our stuff. The influence happened. But
Yeah.
that happened after what was happening in New York. And sometimes even very close, very simultaneously between the 79 and 80s when the first records started throwing back here. That's all I'm going to say. But at the end, the claim in regards of the creation of hip hop sang in English vernacular, in African vernacular English, is of the U.S. resident.
Appreciate it.
Puerto Ricans.
Appreciated this though. Appreciated this though. I gotta land your plane, man. And brother, my phone just went dead. Jalen just plugged it up for me, so it just went dead. But I'm laughing at all. I'm laughing at all. I didn't see what I didn't see what you put in there. I didn't see what you put in there. My phone went dead. It's charging right now. But this though, thank you so much, man. I had to land. I had to land your plane. Big dog, go ahead.
Hot up in here, bro.
Big dog, you got the floor. Big dog, go ahead. Big dog, you got the floor.
Peace.
Peace. Dr. Cologne, don't go nowhere, man. Your camera's off. We here. Don't go nowhere.
I'm here.
Okay. Just making sure you know.
Step out.
Okay.
Yes,
all right. Big dog, you have the floor, brother.
All right. So there's a lot of aspects that's been spoken about. I'm from Songview. Okay. Was around for a lot of the beginnings of this. A lot of this came off New York City gang culture. Okay. It didn't just happen in one place. It was happening in different parts of the South Bronx. You know, when it came to the crews and everything, you know, let's be clear, Zulu Nation did not start in 1973. It started in 1976. Zulu Kings came in late 75, early 76. And that was after the death of Solsky, who was the president of the 10th Division. You know, so, you know, Fat Mike, who's no longer with us, who's an OG from the Black Spades, has said it himself. Breakdancing came from Black to Spanish. Okay. On the music side, I'll never take that away from the Black community. But the elements, the rest of the elements, since there was cultural exchange, is what helped move the culture. It's not just one aspect. It's a multitude of aspects that created culture off of rebellious teenagers like myself back then. And this is the culture we have now.
All right,
check your email, Doc. Check your email.
Let me check my email now that I'm on here. All right, big dog. That's did you land your plane, big dog? Let me see. I just see something just came through here.
I pretty much said what I had to say, you know, but I know Sunshine. I know him personally. I was there with him.
I don't even know who that is.
These are OGs from the Spades.
Hold on, big dog. Who you talking about? I don't even see the name on here. I don't know who that is.
No, these are OGs from the Spades.
Ain't no name on that right there with the bird on his hat.
Oh, okay. All right, there you go.
Yeah, so you know, I'm talking about the OGs from the Black Spades. You know, like I said, it was a multitude of things that were going on. Okay. You know, there's a OG from the Black Spades that says we can't put this on one because it was happening through many in the South Bronx. Mm-hmm. It's a culture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anybody ever. I think everybody agreed to that. That that you had multiple people. Yeah.
And they stated, he stated himself as, the Ghetto Brothers predominantly Puerto Ricans. They became a political activist group, which is why a lot of this started, was because of that peace treaty. But it took time. It didn't happen overnight. It took time to develop. And I could go as further back as Robert Moses splitting the Bronx in half with the Cross Bronx Expressway, calling all of us animals, is really what pushed us into this whole environment of the South Bronx, where we just started going at each other. Our biggest mistakes as kids, because we were kids, this was a kid movement. This was not an adult movement. The adults whether you were black, white, Puerto Rican, didn't matter, didn't like what we were doing. And that goes every generation of music. You know, parents or grandparents don't like it. So everybody caught flack. Not everybody was involved in this creation of a culture. Everybody got involved later on, but not everybody. It wasn't like, you know, every person in the black community was involved. No, it wasn't. Was everybody in the Puerto Rican community involved? No, it wasn't. It was more of those of us who were in the gangs that were really involved. Okay. Now, spoken word over drum beat is centuries upon centuries old.
So what does that mean for you, though? That's that statement there. What does it mean for you? How does your mind, when you say that, you're basically saying what?
That rapping over a drum beat has always been around. Because we could go back into the islands, 1800s, that's plena, right? We could go back into the 1500s, that's bomba. We could go back to West Africa. Everything starts in Africa.
Ha! There you go. There you go. There you go.
You just proved the point.
You just proved our point. Black Press Don, you got the floor, man. Go ahead, chime in. Black Press Don, like he like bop bop bop. Go ahead.
Guide the culture. They gonna always guide the culture.
Yeah.
That's it. My name is the Black Press Don. My name is E Props. I have an outsider point of view only because my parents are Haitian, but I'm born in Brooklyn and raised in Brooklyn. So I'm intimate, and I've presented my work at the CUNY Graduate Center and in Kemet entitled "Is Hip Hop an African Religion?" You could ask Professor Small about me, all right? And Tariq. Now, in peace to all the people on the panel, Dr. Mahat.
Peace, warrior, peace.
Dr. Ankh, Dr. Cologne.
No, I'm not a doctor. My name's just Brother Ankh, bro. Don't give me that.
Brother Ankh, I'm in Raw Squad, peace. But here, and that was an alley in the sense of this. You know, I was following your line of thinking as far as how you traced it back to Africa, as far as the some of the similarities between the dances and breakdancing. Where we differ is when you call it African American. I prefer to call it Africans in America. Now, see, on the flip side, Dr. Cologne, that's where the issue is. I've lived this. I'm a person who grew up here, educated, I have degrees. I haven't been able to even get any type of traction within my own. I'm a native New Yorker. I've never been able to get a type of position within hip hop as far as professionally because it's been co-opted by non-blacks, and that's what you're resisting. And Fat Joe, because you know why? Because it's been lucrative for you. The Hispanic community, listen, I know everybody. Caribbean Cultural Center. I know there's no one I can't name. Now, because you know why? Because you've been able, and it's good and it's bad. You've been able to do what it's like. I'll give you an example of being a Haitian American. As a Haitian, when you say voodoo, you automatically think negatively. But what Hispanics have been able to do is use African-based religions and frame it positively, and it's been lucrative for them. And they repeated the process with hip hop, which is why you see people at the Olympics. That's what you've done. You've done it to the level of even creating an entire educational system around hip hop, to the point where I'm looking at an educational system based on hip hop, where now you're teaching Hispanic deities and Hispanic religion because you totally co-opted it. There's no African like you. That's what you're fighting. But see, what he just did is where the flaw in your argument is. Just like I defer with them. This is what I'll give you an example. Right now, there's a case called reggaeton and dancehall. Are you aware of that? where the people who created dancehall are saying, hey, reggaeton is based on dancehall. This is in court right now in Miami. Now, watch this. So one of the persons who's arguing for reggaeton is like, just like the person just said, is saying, no, it's not. We didn't get it from Jamaica. We got it from such and such. And the thing is, there's a white scholar named Robert Farris Thompson from Cornell. That's what he did. He made a parallel between breakdancing and African dance long time ago. Just like I said, he's gone to the university system doing that. So this Hispanic scholar tried to quote that in order to say, hey, no, we didn't get it from Jamaica. We got it from Congo, because that's what Robert Farris Thompson says. But then how is it that you got it from Congo, but then you didn't get it from Jamaica? Same thing. So you got it from West Africa, but then you didn't get it from African Americans. But see, that's when you make the flaw, Dr.
Check your phone. Check your phone.
That's when African Americans make the flaw, when they don't acknowledge it as being African, because when they do that, they disconnect themselves from the source, pun intended. You see, that's where this whole thing is going on. Two sides who don't want to be called African. Most of the people who want to say, oh, it's FBA, it's this, also call themselves indigenous. Now you tell me where there's a teepee where people are doing spoken word and beating drums like they rapping. It don't exist. That's why you can let Fat Joe diss you, because you know why? Fat Joe, he's Cuban. I guarantee you he practices African religion. Guarantee. And the reason why I'm passionate, because again, me being Haitian American, who's written on these since 2004, I'm the true lineage of Dr. Ben, Gil Noble, etc. When I try to make inroads professionally, not as an artist, as a writer, as a teacher, I get this Hispanic racism. I know everybody, to the point, the writers, your boy Shunez Allah, him wearing all that polo, trying to be God body, trying to be like me, B. Yeah, I know everybody, to the point. See, that's what I'll give you an example. All the writers, Kim Osorio, you know what I call it, brother? The hip hop Ku Klux Klan. Because now, instead of the hoodie being white, the hoodie is a champion hoodie now. See, because I went to Stuyvesant High School, brother. The #1 school in New York City. So to me, when I see people professionally who went to school with me, like Angela Yee, have all these positions, and then I can't get a job, I have to ask myself why. Because all of the non-Black people in hip-hop, Hispanic and white, have all networked with each other on the low to control the business, to control a pipeline. That's why you'll see Cardi B on Atlantic Rec on TV with an accent. But here's the wicked part. That's not everybody does that. That's how the Nigerians do their thing. African Americans down south, Jamaicans, they all mess with their people. But what's wrong about it is how Cardi B could be on the radio, but she's singing a song that sounds like In Living Color with Bruno Mars, meaning you know what's going on in the African American community and you're utilizing it, but at the same time you're excluding them from opportunities. That's wrong. So you mean to tell me the place where, but see, that's where the contradiction is killing you. So you want to go around and talk about, oh yeah, hip hop was the days of Public Enemy and Poor Righteous Teachers and X-Clan and this. But in 2024, we just had a Black president for 18 years and nobody like that rose from New York yet. Again, because you've been shutting it down. That's what's going on. That's what's been going on. And Fat Joe, he's the face of it. He's the last hurrah of it. And he feels confident. That's why he want to open his mouth and talk about, oh, it's 50-50. Because he's not representing, but that makes you look bad. But the thing, I want to say this too. You got to get ready to land your plane. You got to get ready to land. You got to get ready to land your statements, yo. Sorry about that. Just cut 3 of your statements.
Yeah, but you gotta get ready to land your plane.
All right, I'll land my plane, but in response to Puerto Rican, because I grew up around Puerto Rican too. Another thing I want to say is that it is a lot of people who have hid behind calling themselves Puerto Rican, but are different Hispanic nationalities. So now that the heat is on Puerto Ricans, they're over here hiding and making you guys look bad. So, but at the end of the day, the last plane is this. African Americans, you did not get that. It's not African American culture. You were inspired by the Black Arts movement, which was inspired by colonization in Africa, which created the last poets and then set off hip hop. Because by 1975, James Brown was doing disco. No hip hop in Superfly, no hip hop in Shaft, no hip hop in Black Caesar, no hip hop in the Mac. I'm out. and I
don't give him no bomb for that. Don't give no.
My man went off. My man went off. My man went off. My man went off.
This to you. Calm it down. Listen. So Africans in America, would not be African Americans. African Americans have a mixed tone. Let me finish. African Americans got a mixed tone. They got about 60 to 70% indigenous Africans from the continental African. And they got about maybe 2 to 3 or 1 to 4% Native American, and the rest European. So we not just Africans in America, we African Americans. And I'm gonna stand on that. Let me finish. No, you drove a whole I don't. You drove a whole plane across the continent.
Yeah, you did. Let
me finish my
let's battle. This is hip hop.
No, I'm not battling you.
So you're not hip hop.
I'm a scholar in the gentleman. I'm a scholar in the gentleman.
Right now. I gotta pull up my degrees right now.
Let me finish. Let me finish. You're too old for that. You got the gray bit. We have a hard.
I'm not too old for none. Hip hop is the founding of the youth, brother.
Let me finish my point. I'm simply saying what an African American is.
What are we talking about?
The African American Black Americans. I don't know what that is. It's a statue from where you tripping.
From where you probably didn't go. I've been to Kemet. Let's go.
Kemet. The fact that you use the word Kemet and not Egypt is telling to me.
Yeah, we could tell whatever. You're using hip hop now after calling things pseudo. That's what I'm talking about.
I knew it. I didn't know. You see that? Hey, Doc, you see what it is, though, right? You see how he did that?
I see.
So he was waiting. He was hating anyway. I didn't.
You a Sonetic kid. I know you guys.
No,
you
guys hold on. No.
I know everybody.
Bro. Now I'm getting mad now. Now I'm getting mad.
Yo, peace, y'all. We don't need to be yelling over each other or anything like that. Let's just chill.
Hold on, big dog.
Come on, big dog. I'm not a.
Nah, it's just getting loud, man. You know, everybody.
No, hold on. Okay, but now you getting loud. What the hell's going on?
Go ahead.
Hey, bro, I'm not a Sarnetic kid. Nothing. Had my own shit before Sarnetic. Get that straight. Ask about me. All right. Yeah. So Sarnetic didn't bring me nowhere. I ain't a Sarnetic kid. My name, Brother Unc. I'm the God killer.
And this is the God of hip hop. You can't kill this.
So I'm not trying to kill nothing. I'm simply saying I just made a statement and let's move the show forward. That's all. Not gonna battle you
is Adam Clayton Powell African or not? You have a history of having people who are not African.
In we African Americans, man. Stop.
All right, let's land and play. Hold on, Black. Hold on, Black. An
African American, not just an African. Got my own unique culture. See, I embrace my culture. You don't. Look at him. See, don't nobody want to be African American. You don't even understand what it means to be African. Then when the money start coming, when it all look, let me tell you this, man. It's about business. Last time I checked,
hold on, Black press down. Go ahead on.
Okay, so I'm saying, so just say as our sophistication level gets a little bit better, and we figure out a way to get that money that's owed to us, right? Look, being an African American gonna mean something in a minute. It should mean something now. It is highly expressive culture that has been around the world. I'm an African American. I'm not a Ghanaian. I'm not a Kenyan. I'm none of that. I'm an African American, bro. My ancestors died. Foundation of this bitch, right? We died in every war. We was the first cowboys. All right, point blank. So I'm not doing all that. I'm not giving away my African Americanness. Not for no indigenous Africans. Not for nobody. All right. So whatever you say, you hollering, screaming crazy. I just wanted to make my point. So understand that Brother Unc is a Black American. I say Black American for political reasons, right? I'm an African American. I ain't a damn Egyptian. I ain't none of that. I'm not an Olmec. I ain't none of that. Now, let's move the conversation forward with Dr. Cologne on here. Sorry about that, Dr. Cologne. I just want
we got Pooh, and we'll land it there. We'll let Dr. Cologne close us out. Pooh, you have the floor. Pooh, you have the floor.
Hey, Doc Mayart,
peace, warrior.
and brother hey, facts on that. Everything you just said, I'm right there behind you, right along with it. Dr. Collins, y'all had a good conversation tonight. It was no arguing, no cussing, all that kind of stuff. Y'all did very good. And I'm new here, and I'm gonna stay here now because y'all really impressed me that y'all talked to this man and let him know that you got to go with some facts. You got to bring some proof. And I like that. But let me say this. I know they keep saying everything happened in the Bronx, the blacks and the Puerto Ricans. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But I'm from Florida, and I was doing it down here too. And no one, I didn't see nothing from the Bronx on TV. I knew I had black music playing, and the black music was in me and made me dance how I dance. I broke dance, I flipped, I did everything when I was a little kid. So saying that it started up there, it was going all across America, everywhere black people was, because let me tell you something. When we going through stuff, when we're treated bad and we're stolen and stuffs are stolen from us, we dance and sing to get through the hard times. And that's what we did. Everybody, from the parents to the kids. Now, the parents, they had their way. But with the new generation that kept coming up, they was doing it their way. So saying it all in the Bronx, and, I have no problem with that, because some Bronx people came down to Florida, and they was my friends, and they saw we was already dancing like that. And the Puerto Ricans, I had to teach them. I taught them. I taught white people, everybody, how to do that kind of dancing. I didn't learn it from nowhere. It's just how I felt and how I was dancing. And that's what I did. So trying to say that someone else inspired the black culture, I don't think that's right, because we've been stolen from enough. They stole the music, they stole our culture, and then they twisted it and trying to say they created it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let us have, like Dr. Mayart said, let us have what we did. We suffered through this. We did things to make life better for us to live in this country.
That's right.
And be somebody. And yet we still get looked down upon. They keep saying that we got DEI and all this kind of stuff. No, we just as smart as anybody else.
That's right.
And we're not going to let y'all take that away from us.
That's
so
right.
Dr. Collins, no disrespect to you, because I like how you talk. You're doing a good job or whatever. But we're not going to let you take that from us. Not even a little bit.
Not even a little.
I'm going to go ahead and land my plane, but I'm going to stay here with you, Dr. Mayart and Brother because I really
brother.
like y'all.
Like you too, brother. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you. True teacher. True teacher. Hey, you have the floor.
What's up? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So just to give you my background, I'm a first-generation American. My background is Jamaican, born in Soundview, the Bronx. Grew up in Jamaica as a child, came back to the Bronx in 1976. I lived on the Grand Concourse until 1982, Taft High School, class of 85. I am also a Lukumi initiate. I practice the Lukumi religion, son of Ogun. Let's see, what else? Spent most of my life traveling back and forth to Egypt. I'm a dancer, teacher, choreographer. And so I'm there in the Bronx when all of this is taken off. Now, what I want to say, I think part of the problem when we have these discussions is that everybody has a different way of how they define what hip hop is. And you got to remember that this is something that was a grassroots